The millionaire humiliates a simple woman on a flight, but discovers shocking truth about her. The plane rattled and shuddered, a low roar of engines drowned out by the thunderous clash of turbulent clouds outside. First class was tense, passengers clutching armrests, stealing nervous glances at the dark sky. But Maxwell Grant sat back, flawless and unshaken, his sharp eyes cut across the cabin like a hawk surveying its prey, until they landed on her. A quiet woman just a few rows ahead. Emily Clark, plain, overlooked, like wallpaper in a lavish room. A sudden jolt slammed through the plane. Drinks spilled. Gasps filled the air. Emily's hands trembled over her book. Maxwell smirked, loud enough for the nearest passengers to hear. "You're shaking like a leaf, Emily. Scared of a little turbulence? What a joke." His voice cut like a knife, cold and exact. People turned, eyes flickering with surprise. Some stifled chuckles, others frowned. But Maxwell reveled in it. Dominance, control, his armor. Emily didn't flinch. Her calm was the kind that doesn't hide fear, but masters it. She exhaled, slow and measured. Her gaze met his, unwavering. There was something different. A flicker of steel beneath those soft eyes. Maxwell's smirk faltered, just for a moment. That spark, a deadly calm that suggested hidden battles, secrets in shadows beyond his reach. Whispers stirred when she straightened, revealing a slight tattoo at her wrist, half-covered but undeniable, a symbol known only to a select few. She was no simple woman on a flight, and the way she held herself, a quiet strength, like a soldier masked in civilian skin, made the whole cabin murmur. Maxwell's mind raced. Who was she really? What story hid behind those steady breaths and indifferent posture? The storm outside deepened. Lightning flashed, throwing strange shadows across faces. Emily's lips twitched, just barely, in what might have been a smirk or a warning. Maxwell rose, voice dropping low, but laced with biting sarcasm. "Whatever you're hiding, Emily, it won't protect you now." But inside, his confidence cracked. The usual certainty faltered, replaced by a cold edge of doubt that gnawed at him like acid. The flight dragged on, minutes stretching like hours. Emily's presence was a wound in his carefully built fortress, a secret that clawed at his mind. His empire, built on iron will and ruthless moves, suddenly felt porous, vulnerable in ways he hated to admit. Shadows from her past, whispered hints of power and danger, lingered just out of sight, threatening to tear apart everything he controlled. As the plane cut through the stormy night sky, soaked in whispered tension and, "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just quickly check that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're at it, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact." The plane hummed low, the storm outside smashing against the windows like fists. Maxwell Grant's eyes never left Emily. His confidence was a cracked mask now. Her calm was a razor that sliced right through it. Then, suddenly, the cabin lurched hard. A sharp, violent shudder, worse than anything before. Screams ripped through the air. Lights flickered. Tea bags tumbled down. People shouted. Prayers mixed with panic. Maxwell gripped his armrests. Breath caught in his throat. Emily's hand, steady, shot out, grabbing the arm of the seat in front. But it wasn't just the turbulence twisting the plane. Then came the shrieks that froze everyone's blood. From the back of the cabin, a deafening crash echoed. Heads snapped toward the source, eyes wide in horror. A heavy metal case, locked, black, scarred, was lying open, its contents spilled like a spilled secret. Inside, guns, several, and what looked like explosives. Bleeding into the aisle, a man lay curled in agony, gasping erratic, shallow breaths. He was shouting something urgently, but the roar of the storm swallowed most words. The flight attendants scrambled, faces pale and frozen with terror. Maxwell's world exploded in a new nightmare. The key to it all stared him in the face. Emily. Her tattoo burned in his mind, the symbol, the silent strength. Suddenly, it wasn't just mystery. It was danger. And now, with the whole plane shaking like a leaf, it wasn't just his empire that felt fragile. His life did too. "Sir," a panicked attendant gasped, clutching Maxwell's sleeve. "There's a bomb. Someone tried to bring it on board. Emily." Her voice cracked. "She's not just a passenger. She's a courier. The tattoo, that's the mark of the Black Orchid, a feared syndicate, and now we're tracked with them." Maxwell's chest tightened. The lump he'd been trying to swallow all this flight wasn't nervousness. It was terror. It was betrayal. Emily's eyes flicked to the open case, the metal glinting under the harsh cabin lights. And then, shock. Her lips parted. She whispered one word. "Maxwell." Every head snapped back to him. The man, gasping in pain, pointed shakily at Maxwell. "They're coming for you. They sent me to stop you." Stunned silence crashed, broken by a sudden bang. The injured man convulsed. Blood dark and thick across the aisle. Panic exploded. Maxwell felt the icy crawl of dread claw at his bones. This wasn't just a flight anymore. It was a battlefield. And the quiet woman he'd humiliated, she was standing on the razor's edge of war. Emily's calm shattered in a blink. Her hands moved fast, disarming, steady, precise, and then, in a voice sharp as shattered glass, "I'm not just hiding secrets. I'm your last chance, Maxwell. Trust me." The passengers around them recoiled, the air thick with fear and confusion. Whispered accusations, frantic prayers, and shattered illusions spun wild. Maxwell looked at Emily, chest hammering. Was she the enemy, or the only shield left against a storm that could destroy them all? Outside, lightning slashed again, and inside, the truth burst wide open. Who was she, really? And what hell had he walked right into? No one had answers. Only the sound of the plane fighting to stay in the sky, and a single burning question. How deep did this poison run? The plane trembled, the storm roaring louder, like a beast outside. Maxwell's heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. Emily's steady gaze never left him. Her calm was a blade cutting through the chaos, sharper than anything in that open case. Then, a sudden silence slammed down. The frantic screams died on everyone's lips. The entire cabin froze, like something was waiting. A soft, steady click echoed. Heads whipped toward the back. The bomb. The case's latch snapped shut by itself. A murmur rippled through the frightened crowd. Eyes wide, breath held. Maxwell blinked. Emily's face changed. Something dark flickered behind her eyes, a shadow deeper than fear or calm. She didn't just watch the case close. She commanded it. "Everyone stay calm," Emily said, voice colder now, harder. "No sudden moves." Maxwell's blood ran cold. Before he could say a word, the man lying wounded in the aisle gasped, then convulsed violently. His body stiffened as if seized by some invisible force. His eyes snapped open wide with terror, fixated on Maxwell. "No," he whispered, voice ragged. "You're not who you say you are." Maxwell's throat went dry. "What do you mean?" he croaked, the man's lips twisted in pain. "You lied. All of it. The empire. The name. You're the real Black Orchid." The cabin erupted into chaos. Whispers turned frantic, accusations louder. Panic spiked. Maxwell's face blanched. His eyes met Emily's. Her stare burned colder than ice. Not just a courier. Not just a mystery. Not just danger. But the truth. The tattoo. The symbol. The silence between them. Suddenly, Emily stepped forward, voice low and hard, dripping with bitter accusation. "You've hidden behind that mask too long. Behind your power, your fortune. You're the one who started this war." Maxwell's knees buckled, heart slamming against ribs like a hammer. The passengers recoiled. Some gasped, others froze. "She set you up," the injured man whispered urgently. "You're the target because you betrayed her." "Betrayed me?" Maxwell choked out. "You're insane." Emily's glare sliced the air. "You're the traitor. You sold us out." Maxwell's world collapsed in slow motion. His iron throne, built on lies. His empire, a poisoned illusion. The storm outside reached a deafening peak. Lightning bathed their faces in white-hot light. Emily's hand dropped, revealing another tattoo hidden beneath her sleeve. A thorned rose wrapped around a dagger, the same emblem as Maxwell's, a twin mark. A hush fell. Then a voice, low and sharp, cut through the panic. "I am the Black Orchid," Emily said. "Not a courier, not a pawn. I was your partner, your enemy, and the reckoning you never saw coming. Maxwell staggered back, mind spinning. The woman he thought he humiliated, the fragile stranger. They were two halves of a deadly whole. And now, the real war had just begun. The plane shuddered violently again. The storm screamed outside. Inside, the truth was a grenade in their midst. Who was the enemy? Who was the ally? And how badly had Maxwell lost everything without even knowing it? The answers were buried in the dark. And the night was just waking up. The plane jolted again, a savage shake that tore through the cabin like a fist. Lightning slashed the windows, white and blinding. Everyone froze, wide eyes, ragged breaths, waiting for what would come next. Maxwell's knees felt weak. Emily's stare burned him like fire, unyielding. The silence stretched, thick and dangerous. Then, the overhead speaker crackled to life. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated and fasten your seatbelts. The captain's voice trembled. We have a situation. His words broke off suddenly, replaced by a sharp pop, then eerie static. Whispers exploded. Maxwell's gaze snapped back to Emily. Her calm had vanished, replaced by a flash of panic. She lunged toward the wounded man, who was now completely still. His chest rose and fell shallowly, but his eyes were glazed, both pupils dilated. "He's gone," Emily muttered. Her voice cracked like ice breaking. But before they could react, a sudden thump rocked the plane. This time, different, closer, heavier, like a body hitting the fuselage. The cabin plunged into near darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, red and grim. The plane shuddered violently, as if caught in a storm of metal and wind. Then, the most impossible thing happened. The cockpit door burst open. A figure stumbled out, drenched in blood, face hidden under a soaked hood. The cabin gasped, backs pressed into seats. Maxwell's heart hammered in his throat. The figure dropped the hood. It was him. Not Maxwell, not Emily, but another man, wearing Maxwell's ring, his expensive suit, and his face. Same face, only colder, empty, like a shadow peeled from a nightmare. "Who the hell?" Maxwell whispered, voice cracked. The man grinned, a slow, cruel smile that didn't touch his eyes. "Thought you could hide, Max?" The voice wasn't Maxwell's, but it spoke like it owned every word. "I'm the real Black Orchid, the one you erased, the one you buried." The cabin reeled, faces blurring. Emily's jaw clenched, shock mixing with fury. Maxwell's world exploded inside his skull. "Wait, this can't be," he gasped. The imposter stepped forward, muscles tense, a dark gleam in his eyes. "Everything you built, lies. A mask. I'm the truth you ran from." Confused passengers whispered frantic questions. The injured man, dead. Emily, not alone. Maxwell, now facing himself and losing. Suddenly, the imposter lunged at Maxwell. A sharp struggle ensued amid screams. Hands grabbed armrests, Scarves flew, drinks spilled. But then, on the floor near the open case, something slipped out. A tiny, blinking device. A remote. The real bomb. Emily's voice cut through. "It's a trap, both of you. Neither of you are who we thought." Maxwell stared at the man who looked like him, then at Emily, and then the crowd. The plane tilted sharply. A sick twist in the gut. "Who are you?" Maxwell gasped. The imposter smiled, cold as ice. "I'm the man who survived your betrayal, the man you tried to erase. And now I'm the one who's coming for everything you love." Emily's hand dropped, revealing a new tattoo, this one fresh, bleeding red under her sleeve, a dagger piercing a rose, dripping dark ink. "Neither of you control this story," she said, voice low and fierce. "There's a third player, and they're on this plane." Right now, Maxwell's breath hitched. The passengers stared, eyes wide. Fear turned to confusion, then something far worse, dread. Suddenly, the lights flickered out completely, a heartbeat of darkness. Then, a new voice, a calm, cold whisper from the PA system. "Welcome aboard the real Black Orchid flight." The plane's nose dipped sharply, and the truth shattered hard. Who was the enemy? Who was the ally? And how deep did this nightmare really go? Nobody was ready for what came next. The plane dipped hard, the cabin jolting like a beast losing control. Lights flickered, eyes widened, breaths caught in throats. Then the PA went dead again. Silence. Thick and suffocating. Maxwell stared at the imposter, the man who looked exactly like him, with a cold dread curling in his gut. Emily's voice cracked the tension, low and sharp. "This isn't just a game. They're watching us." Suddenly, the cabin doors blew open with a violent whoosh. Cold winds slammed inside, sweeping through the aisle like a ghost storm. Passengers screamed, clutching seats, faces pale and frozen. From the entrance, a tall figure stepped in, masked, dressed all in black, silent. Every heartbeat thumped louder. The figure tossed a small, shining device onto the floor. A chill spread as the device beeped. A countdown started. All eyes locked, breath hitched. Then, in a move no one saw coming, the device exploded. But it wasn't fire or smoke that filled the cabin. It was water. Sudden, freezing water pumped spray, blasted from hidden nozzles along the ceiling. Panic turned to confusion as the cabin flooded within seconds. Fans whirred loudly. Emergency lights blinked red and blue. Chaos erupted. Maxwell's jacket soaked. Emily's calm vanished, replaced by a fierce glare. The imposter fell back, slipping and scrambling. The door closed behind the figure, who vanished into the shadows. Passengers gasped, coughing, sputtering as the plane slowly tilted again, this time forward, nose dipping sharply. And then the impossible happened. The flight attendants' voices crackled over the intercom. But the message wasn't human. A chilling, robotic voice repeated over and over. "Welcome to Flight 666. Your lives are no longer your own." The cabin erupted in screams. The imposter and Maxwell locked eyes, both soaked and trembling. Emily snapped, yelling, "Stop! Focus! This is a distraction!" Maxwell's mind raced, heart hammering like a drum in his chest. Then, through the flood of chaos, a hand gripped his arm. Strong, urgent. He turned sharply. It was Emily, but something had changed. Her eyes, empty, hollow. Her voice dropped, smooth and cold. "Maxwell, do you remember?" He blinked, trying to shake the fog of shock. And then the ground shifted beneath everything he thought he knew. Emily's hand shot up, peeling back her sleeve. The tattoo wasn't what he saw before. It was a brand, burned in red, raw, fresh, and beneath it, a number. 0412. Maxwell felt the breath leave his lungs. Everything piled up. Him humiliating her, the open case, the imposter, the bomb. All of it pointed to one sick truth. Emily wasn't just the Black Orchid. She was a prisoner, a test subject. And so was he. The world around him blurred as memories slammed back, unbidden and brutal. A cold lab, white walls, metal restraints, and a voice, the same robotic one, echoing over sterile speakers. Project Orchid initiated. Subjects 0412 and 0421. Your identities forged. Your memories altered. Your real selves lost to control. Emily's cold smile cracked for a split second, pain flashing in her eyes. "I'm not your enemy, Maxwell," she whispered fiercely. "Neither of us are free. We were made for this, programmed to play roles, puppets in a war we never chose." Maxwell's head reeled. The imposter's grin froze. His eyes darkened, confusion, fear, betrayal all bleeding out at once. Passengers stared stunned, their nightmare growing darker with each breath. Emily dropped her arm. "Look around," she said, voice sharp as broken glass. "This flight, it's not real. None of this is. It's a simulation, a purge, a test of the Black Orchid's true heirs." Time twisted. Maxwell felt his heart shatter. His empire, his lies, his battles, all illusions. And the woman he thought he ruined, the woman he feared, she was as trapped as he was. "Who the hell are we?" he gasped. Emily's eyes burned icy fire. "Not fighters, not criminals, not kings or pawns. We're experiments." Silence crashed harder than the storm outside. The plane dipped again, and the screaming started anew. But now, Maxwell dreaded a different question. If everything was a lie, then who really was Maxwell Grant? And what part of him was left to save? The nightmare was only just beginning. The plane pitched hard again. Faces were pale, eyes wide, breaths caught so deep it felt like lungs might crack. Maxwell's chest tightened, a cold hand squeezing tight. Emily's stare cut ice. No warmth, no softness, just that brutal, raw truth. "We're experiments," she said again. The words hung heavy, thick in the stale air. Trapped inside their game. Maxwell swallowed hard. The humming in the cabin dropped to a fragile whisper. Suddenly, a sharp crack ripped through the silence. Not thunder this time. The whole plane jolted violently. A sick, twisted shudder, and then from the far back, a rattle. Heads turned. Behind them, a bulk of dark shapes spilled from the shadows of the cabin. No more passengers. No more scared faces. Figures wearing black masks, silent, deadly. They moved like ghosts, cutting through the chaos. Emily's eyes narrowed. Maxwell's heartbeat thudded in his ears. Then they came into view. A squad moving smooth, urgent, but what froze Maxwell was the emblem on their sleeves. A thorned rose, tangled with a dagger. The black orchid sign. He blinked, breath catching. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a takeover. One masked figure stepped forward. The voice was mechanical, but chilling. "Subject 0421. Your presence is no longer required." Maxwell's blood ran ice cold. The words slashed the fog from his mind. "Maxwell?" Emily's voice broke through, sharp and terrified. The masked figure raised a finger, a signal. Soldiers fanned out, blocking aisles, tightening the cage. Suddenly, the plane's emergency lights died. Pitch black. Screams ripped through the dark. And then, loud, clear, a voice that was not human spoke from everywhere and nowhere. Experiment terminated. A sudden blast of light hit Maxwell's eyes like a hammer. He fell back against his seat, heart slamming against ribs. Behind the glow, a screen flickered to life above the aisle. Grainy footage, a camera's cold eye watching him. Maxwell's own face, eyes empty, twitching uncontrollable. Inside the cabin, the crowd gasped. Emily's hands slammed against Maxwell's arm. No, this can't be real. But on the screen, the truth spilled out relentless. Maxwell Grant, the man they thought was the Titan, the Empire King, was staring back, trapped inside some twisted virtual cage. The screen flicked again. A hospital room, stark, white, machines all blinking lifeless red. And then the bombshell. The voice, dry and clinical, cut through the air. Subject 0421 is currently in a coma. The flight simulation is a cognitive testing environment designed to reawaken neural pathways and assess threat responses. Maxwell's chest tightened until it felt like it would implode. He wasn't Maxwell Grant anymore. He was 0421. And so was Emily. A crackle from the speakers. Another voice. But frantic now. Warning. Neural destabilization detected. Suddenly, the world spun. The masks, the fight, none of it was real. It was inside their heads. The plane shuddered again. But now, Maxwell could see past the storm. A chilling truth hit him like a shot. The real Maxwell Grant was out there, somewhere. But he wasn't this man. Not the man fighting for control. Not the man losing grip. The Maxwell inside this flight wasn't a man at all. He was a ghost. An echo. And the real war? It wasn't for an empire. It was for their minds. Emily's eyes locked on his. For a moment, the old fire flickered. Fear, confusion, and something raw and broken. Then, "Who are we?" she whispered. And at that moment, the cabin doors burst open once more. Only this time, it wasn't soldiers. It was a child. Small, pale, eyes too knowing for their age. In one hand, a tablet glowing with the same thorned rose. The child walked down the aisle slowly, pointing the device straight at the screen. "Time's up," it said, just loud enough for Maxwell to hear. And as the plane twisted into a dive, everyone knew. The nightmare just got real. And the game? It was only beginning. The child's cold voice drifted through the cabin like a knife. "Time's up." Maxwell's chest tightened. His eyes locked on the small figure walking slowly down the aisle, the glowing tablet reflecting in those too old for their years' eyes. The plane tilted sharply again, and the screams rose like shouting thunder. But in that moment, everything snapped silent. A sudden crack sounded. Sharp, sharp as breaking glass. The child stopped mid-step. Then the whole cabin shook violently. Seats slammed back. Overhead bins exploded open. People screamed, grabbing whatever they could. Maxwell barely caught Emily's sleeve, pulling her close as the plane lurched. But then came the worst sound of all, the roar of steel tearing. The wall by the emergency exit ripped apart like paper. A hole, huge, ragged. Cold air blasted in, ripping papers, blowing hair into faces. And out of that hole, something shocking spilled inside. Not soldiers, not more masks, but a flood of real people, dozens of them, pale and wild-eyed, dressed in hospital gowns, faces twisted with pain and confusion. They poured in like a nightmare tide. Maxwell stumbled back, heartbeat slamming so hard it felt like it could burst. Emily's grip on his arm went rigid. One of the newcomers, a young woman, collapsed right in front of them. Her eyes flickered as her breathing faltered. A twitch of panic broke free. "Patients," she gasped, voice cracking. "Escaped from the facility." Whispers exploded across the cabin. Facility? What facility? They're experiment subjects? Maxwell felt his vision tunnel. The world tilted again. The child pointed the tablet toward the crowd, and the screen exploded in a sudden flash. Images, bombarding them, flickered in sick, twisted loops. White rooms, shiny machines, screaming, struggling bodies. And worst of all, the face of Maxwell Grant, but not this one. A man, gaunt and hollow, lying hooked to wires, eyes glassy and dead. Alongside him, a girl, the woman who'd held Emily's arm, her face a mask of pain and terror. The cabin fell into chaos. What is this? Someone shouted. The child's voice returned, unnervingly calm. This is your truth. You're not passengers, not prisoners, not rivals. We're patients in a program, trapped inside endless simulations. Maxwell's knees nearly gave out. Emily's eyes widened, a crack in her cold mask. "No," she whispered. "No, it can't." "I am not real," Maxwell hissed, voice breaking. "I'm a construct, a shadow of a man that once lived." The child, still holding the glowing tablet, walked over to Maxwell. Her voice shimmered with shocking clarity. "You, Maxwell Grant, were never alive. Not really." A scream tore through the cabin. Pain, raw and ragged. "No," Maxwell gasped, clinging to Emily like a life raft. "Look closely." The tablet projected one final image. A birth certificate, a hospital wristband. Dates meaningless but real. Emily's voice faltered. "We're programs, digital ghosts running the same broken loop. I'm not Black Orchid. I'm code." Maxwell shook his head violently. "Lies, lies." But the child only smiled, cold and empty. "Your real bodies are fading, your true minds slipping away." The cabin grew unbearably silent, until the robotic voice crackled back to life, deep, hollow. "Simulation complete. Data saved. Reboot in T-10. Maxwell's breath caught in his throat. Emily's hand dropped, this time revealing something new. Beneath her sleeve, where a tattoo used to be, a glowing chip pulsed faintly. She looked at Maxwell, fear and sorrow ripping through her eyes. "We're not the ones holding the cards. We never were." Suddenly, the plane's lights went out. Complete darkness. Only the low hum of machines. And the child's final whisper. "Welcome to the real game." Maxwell's heart stopped, because now the nightmare was no longer inside the plane. It was inside them, and they had no escape. The cabin plunged into total darkness. Only the hum of machines and the child's final words hung, like a breath frozen in the air. "Welcome to the real game." Maxwell's heart pounded so loud it swallowed every other sound. His fingers trembled as they gripped Emily's arm, cold, slippery, like ice. She looked back at him, eyes wide and wild, cracks forming in her mask of control. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Not on, but a sharp burst of red, a warning. The engines groaned, the plane's body shuddering again. Then came the sound nobody saw coming, a distant, low thump. Twice, then a third. Maxwell stiffened. Everyone froze. The floor beneath them started to hum. soft at first, then harder, deeper, as if something alive was waking inside the metal bones of the plane. Without warning, a panel on the ceiling slid open. A sharp hiss of static filled the cabin. A voice, clear, calm, and horribly familiar, cracked through the speakers. "Hello, Maxwell. Hello, Emily." The cabin's blood seemed to freeze. Maxwell's breath hitched. The voice wasn't robotic. It was his own, but colder, sharper, full of quiet menace. The screen above flickered to life. Static cleared to a live video feed. The camera zoomed in on a man sitting in a dim, sterile room. His face was twisted, a mirror of Maxwell's, but older, scarred, eyes glinting like broken glass. "I see you're both confused," the man said, voice slow, deliberate. "Good." Emily gasped beside Maxwell, her fingers digging into his sleeve. The child watched silently, tablet glowing dim in the shadows. "Let me clear this up," the older man continued. "You think you're prisoners, experiments, shadows inside a simulation. But the real truth? You both are me." A hush fell, heavier than the dark. Maxwell's throat closed tight. Emily's eyes burned with panic and disbelief. What do you mean?" she whispered. The man on screen smiled, bitter and cruel. "I am the original, the real Black Orchid. The one who created this web." "Created what?" Maxwell's voice cracked like a whip. "This simulation, this experiment. And yes, you too," the man said, nodding toward the camera with a slow, grim smile. "You're fragments of myself, splintered minds crafted to find a way out." A beat of silence. Then the video feed flickered again. A montage played. Broken labs, abandoned corridors, faces like Emily and Maxwell's, but twisted in pain. "Each of you holds a piece of the truth, but none of you are free, because I am still awake, watching, controlling." The screen went black. The cabin stayed frozen. Whispers burst like gunshots. Maxwell's knees trembled. Emily's hand shook as she pulled her sleeve back, only to reveal no tattoo, no brand, just a pale, blank arm. The child's glowing tablet switched off too. Suddenly, the imposter, soaked, desperate, slammed into Maxwell, breathless. "She lied," the imposter gasped. "None of this is real. We're all prisoners, but not of machines, of him." Emily's jaw clenched, fear warbling in her voice. "Who's him? Who's controlling us?" The plane shuddered violently. A metallic sound roared, a rising hiss like unleashing steel. A new panel opened in the floor beneath their feet. From the depths, pale hands reached up. Then, faces, dozens of them, emerging slowly, silently. Not patients, not soldiers, clones. Identical to Maxwell, identical to Emily. Eyes glassy, faces blank. And then one stepped forward, The darkest shadow of all. The original Maxwell Grant, the only real man. He looked straight at them and smiled. Slow, perfect, dead. Ready to wake up? The cabin exploded into chaos. Maxwell's breath hitched. Emily's fingers grasped his shirt, nails digging in, desperate, because now it was clear. They were not just experiments. They were copies, replacements, and the man they feared was the man on the screen. He was waiting to take back what was his. Suddenly, the plane tilted hard into a dive, and the nightmare screamed louder than ever before. Who was real? Who was the lie? And if they weren't Maxwell, then who the hell were they? The plane lurched hard, twisting downward fast. Maxwell's heart slammed like a drum in his chest. Emily's hand gripped his shirt so tight it left marks. Around them, chaos roared. Shouts, cries, the clang of falling bags. But something deeper broke free beneath all that noise. The original Maxwell Grant's dead eyes bore into them. The cold smile didn't fade. It sliced through the panic like ice. Then, just as the plane pitched toward the earth, everything stopped. The emergency lights cut out. The engines fell silent. Nothing but a heavy, suffocating hush. Maxwell's breath caught. Emily stared ahead, eyes wide, frozen. Then came the click. Soft, subtle. The cabin doors slipped shut, locked, with a distant clank of steel. A new voice filled the silence. Calm, smooth, dead serious. Welcome to the truth. The screen above flickered, grainy at first, then sharp. They watched as the world around them peeled away. Not the battered cabin, not the screaming passengers, but a bank of cold monitors, rows of lab techs, and Maxwell himself sitting motionless in a clear tube, wires snaking into his arms. Emily too, same. The child, the imposter, the soldiers, the clones. None real, just images on screens. A panic bubbled up, hot, sharp, uncontrollable. But then the twist hit like a blow. A new face appeared on the screen. A woman, mid-30s, eyes fierce, face familiar, but not Emily. Not Maxwell. "Hello, Maxwell," she said, voice hard but shaking. "I'm Dr. Dana Rhodes, the creator, the one who built you all." Everyone gasped. Emily's grip loosened, shock cracking her mask. Maxwell's throat closed. Dr. Rhodes continued, "This isn't just an experiment, not just simulations. This is a war for control between pieces of me." Her shadow flickered on the screen. "Maxwell, Emily, you're fragments of my mind, split, copied, and sent into this simulation to find the perfect self." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "And I'm watching, waiting." Suddenly, the screen snapped black. Then, with a horrifying jolt, the real shock came. Maxwell's own mouth moved, but not his voice. A new figure stepped from the shadows behind Dr. Rhodes, calm and cold. Not Maxwell's voice. "This is the truth you never wanted. The camera panned to reveal another man, older, colder, standing beside the doctor. Your actions are mine. Your memories, my programming. He pointed at the screen. And all of this, your fight, your pain, it's nothing but shadows. The real war is inside this room, Emily gasped. Maxwell's chest tightened until he couldn't breathe. The screen tore apart their minds with one final blow. Behind the scenes, behind the simulation, behind the masks, the real Maxwell Grant was not on the plane. He was right here, in this lab. And they, Maxwell, Emily, the imposter, were her creations. Sparks of hope shattered. The walls closed in. Then Dr. Rhodes looked dead center, right into the camera. Now you'll choose. Join me or be erased. The cabin plunged into a chilling, absolute silence. No engines, no screams, just the cold, sharp edge of a truth so brutal, it made everything they believed bleed away. Maxwell's throat burned. Emily's hand trembled. The child's tablet glowed one last time, projecting a phrase, simple, terrifying. What makes you real? And the plane dropped, hard, into the black, into the question that no one could answer. Because in this game, there was no going back. Just the question that swallowed them whole. Who, if any of them, was real at all? The plane plunged into darkness. Silence slammed like a fist right into their chests. Maxwell's hands shook as Emily's grip tightened, nails digging into his sleeve. The screen above flickered, a cold, cruel light, cutting through all the fear. "This is your last chance," the woman's voice crackled through the speakers. "Join us, or be erased." The cabin held its breath. Maxwell swallowed the lump in his throat. His chest ached, tight like it was about to split open. Emily's eyes searched his, a wildfire of pain and hope burning inside them. Then, everything snapped. The cabin's harsh lights burst back on. The screens cut out. The beeping stopped. The endless cycle ended. Passengers blinked, disoriented. The illusion cracked. Maxwell looked around. Empty seats, shaken faces. But no frozen masks, no lab cages. Just people. Emily let go of his sleeve and stood, trembling, but steady. "It's over," she whispered, voice raw. The door slid open. A sharp, clean light flooded the cabin. Voices, for real voices this time, poured in. A woman stepped forward, different from before, genuine, with a tired smile. "You made it. The simulation is complete." Maxwell's knees almost gave out, but his breath came quicker now, alive. "We're free," he said, barely louder than a whisper. Emily nodded. Not perfect, not whole, but free. Behind them, the shadow of the real Maxwell, the man who haunted so many nightmares, was gone. vanished like a nightmare dissipating with dawn. The truth, wild and fractured, lay ahead. Shattered memories, broken pieces scattered like glass. But for the first time, it was theirs to put back together. The plane hummed with new possibility. Outside, the storm was clearing, and inside, the deepest question still pulsed. Who are we, now that the cage is broken? The engine surged gently. The cabin breathed. The future was waiting, and the fight wasn't over. But maybe, for once, they had a chance to choose their own path. Maxwell and Emily exchanged a look, fierce and fragile. Silent promises made in that suspended moment. The screen flickered one last time. A single phrase burned in red letters. What comes next is up to you. Now, this is the moment. You need to subscribe right now. Don't miss a single story like this. Smash that like button right now to push this video to the top. Flood the comments with your shock, your theories, your rage. Let me know exactly what you think happened. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this madness ends. Only true fans get how crucial this is. Your support makes these stories possible. So subscribe, like, comment, and share now. There's no turning back. The real game is just beginning.